Hi, this is Terry Gibbs, and tonight I have a short lesson for you on eBay, specifically how to spot and avoid problem buyers. If you can head off a problem before it starts, you can save a lot of time and aggravation. Before we get started, let me do a quick pitch. These are my books here. I got How to Write Descriptions That Sell. I think that one's $8. And How to Sell Antiques and Collectibles on eBay. This one's $14, and you can get them in the printed manual like this from Amazon. I think the small one's $8, the bigger one's $14. So, and I'm still working on this: how to get a constant stream of people to call you on the phone and sell you their old toy trains. That should be ready by September. And I'll have a new issue next Tuesday night on a story about how to buy trains, so you can learn that and that. So tonight, what I want to talk to you about is avoiding eBay problems before they happen. And an example, a couple years ago, I sold something on eBay. I don't know what it was, but it was a $30 or $40 train related item to a guy in Florida. And immediately after the auction ended, he sends me a note saying, "Hey, I'll give you a prepaid UPS label and you ship it to me by UPS." Well, here where I live in the small town, the UPS place makes you stand in line. So I can't just walk in, set the box on the counter, and walk out like I could do at FedEx or the post office. I have to stand in line and wait until the people in front of me are gone. And I'm not going to do that. You know, it's one thing for me to help the neighbor out and drop something off at UPS for him. But it's a whole nother thing for me to obligate myself to 15, 20 minutes in line so somebody can save a few bucks on the shipping. And when I looked at that, and I told him, no, I'm not doing that, and you just pay for FedEx or UPS or FedEx or the post office. And he started getting belligerent. I looked at his feedback, and the guy has many feedbacks from that he has left for buyers, or he has many feedback he left for sellers about exorbitant shipping rates, unwilling to work with them, and all that. And I just, at that point, said, I'm done. And I went on to eBay and blocked him. And eBay has a specific segment in there called block buyers, where you can block buyers from bidding, or if they've already bid on your item, from paying. And the great thing about that is that, like with this guy with the UPS, he hadn't paid yet. So as soon as I blocked him, he can't pay. That means he can't leave me a negative feedback. I just turn around and offer it to the second place bidder, and everything's easier. All right. And there are a lot of situations when that happens. There are other people that will identify themselves, kind of sticking their hand up like in class when we were kids, to let us know, hey, I might be problematic. And remember, when you're dealing with somebody and it's a $20 or $30 sale, and it's going to eat up 2 or 3 hours of your time dealing with the complaints and the whining and all that, you're better off just canceling it and moving on. But if you cancel the sale, the buyer can leave you a negative feedback. If you block the buyer, he can't. And additionally, when you block a buyer and he doesn't pay, he gets what's called a non-paying bidder strike. And when you go on to eBay, and I'll show you the page in a minute and put it on here, but when you go on to eBay, you can set it so that you won't allow people. My page is set, and I'll put this up so you can see it, so that I block buyers who caused 2 cancellations with unpaid orders in the past 12 months. That means if twice in the past year they won an auction and then didn't pay for it, they can't bid on my stuff. All right. I block buyers whose shipping address is in a location which I don't ship, and I don't ship internationally anymore because I can't guarantee the tracking. Um, and that was a problem. So I just stopped shipping internationally, and this prevents the people in Canada from saying, "Hey, would you ship me this? Hey, would you ship me this?" The answer is always no. Giving them the ability to ask questions isn't going to change it. So that helps out. And then I also have this third one is block buyers who are currently winning or have bought one items in the last 10 days. Only apply this limit to buyers with a feedback score of 5 or less. And that one is because a couple of years ago, I was selling inventory of brand new trains, and these were coming right out of dealer cartons. And a guy bought one and said that it was damaged because of the way they packed it. And so I gave him a partial refund. A week later, he bought another one of these cars and was back again. And these are like $20 cars. And the second time I said, yeah, I'll do this, but no one else has complained. In 2 years of dealing with all of this stuff out of the dealer horde, you're the only one to complain. And I'm not going to put up with any further complaints from you. And then a week or two later, he bought another one. And I checked when I packed it to see what it looked like. There was no problems with it. I sent it to him. He called, and I refused to do anything with him. And I think he left a negative feedback, and then I blocked him from bidding, and he started creating eBay accounts and bidding on those cars. So every time I listed an Amtrak passenger car, he'd bid on it and then not pay. And what was happening was that I'd put a setup and he'd bid on 4 or 5 of the cars and win them, because if you're not going to pay, it doesn't matter what you bid, right? So I put that in, and that cut out a lot of the problems with people buying 2 or 3 items, but they can only afford one, which is, we're adults, but I don't know the deal with that. But anyway, I set that up, and that helped with that. And then the other buyer rule I have is down at the bottom is don't allow block buyers to contact me. And that is that I don't even want them to message me. And that doesn't work consistently, because I get emails from people that have more than one block bid or strike or are new to eBay saying they can't bid. Let me see if I do this. Now with this eBay block buyers, it's under buyer management. So if you go to eBay help and you search for block buyers or setting buyer requirements, and the other one is buyer management, that'll get you onto that page that explains everything from eBay, and that'll give you the ability to shut people down. Now, one quick note before we finish. I do not recommend that you start going in and looking at your bidders and checking the feedback that they've left and then blocking them and canceling bids. All right. In the auctions that I list, the majority of them end with snipe bidders coming in the last 8 seconds or so. So the people that are in there making the initial bids, they're not the winners anyway. It's a lot of wasted effort to go in and research your buyers and then cancel their bids and all of that. My suggestion here is that only when you get a buyer that's standing up and showing you that he might be a problem, that you shut him down before that happens. And usually this is for cheaper stuff. And the majority of stuff on eBay is cheap, under $50 or $100. And it's very rare to have the buyers playing games with the more expensive stuff. But by all means, don't get yourself into a hassle over something expensive, you know, and this will solve the problem. So if you get a buyer that buys something and then starts dancing around immediately, block them from paying, and that will prevent the problems. Also, with the buyer cancellations, I just block them. I feel that some buyer that bought something and then cancels it should have a strike against them. And like I mentioned before, buyers with more than 2 strikes over the past year can't bid on my stuff. And if other sellers did the same thing, then it would be easier on all of us. Because remember, and this is what I said in the beginning, or should have said if I'd remembered it, on eBay, almost all the problems are caused by a very small group of people. It might be 5% or 2% of the people cause all the problems. And if we could get rid of them by just blocking them, learning to spot them, and closing them off from messing with us, we can make our lives easier. So, thanks for watching. And as always, if you got any tips, put them in the comment section. This whole interview or session here came because somebody posted a comment in one of the other videos and reminded me of it. So, thanks for watching.